Mm.
And we're live. All right,
Yes.
Eric, not week 8, but certainly episode 8.
Yeah, it's not week 8 anymore. I think it's way more than that.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
REPL is still running.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um what we see here is, I guess, this do block here. Um it's a bit iffy because we're doing two sets of IO operations, I guess, or two side affecting
Yeah, definitely
things.
two side affecting operations, yeah, that are not related in any way. It's like the classic old school XA transaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you've got two-phase commit problems. You want to make sure that both succeed, but you have no way, at least on this code, there's no way to guarantee that.
Mm. We had this so at work, we migrated from Mongo to Postgres,
Right.
and the way
You're already
that
quite optimistic, let's be honest, with Mongo.
was that?
You're already very optimistic with Mongo, so
Yes, but the way that we did this was that we started out by, in addition to reading and writing to Mongo, we started to also write to Postgres.
oh right, okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yeah,
basically, you read from one source, but you write to two of them.
okay,
And then there is, of course, a problem there if what happens if, um, the write to Postgres fails, and you've already written it to Mongo, and
yeah, yeah,
like there's some transaction iffy stuff there.
yeah. You need some sort of way to either combine them or to reconcile them. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I did try at some point to write a transactional mac or like a macro around those two so that if Postgres blew up, uh, we could roll back Mongo because Mongo now actually comes with transactions, believe it or
right,
not.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And what was the outcome of this
We're on
macro?
Postgres.
No, what was the outcome of this macro though? You said you tried to write a
Um,
macro to
yeah, so I,
XA
I
this thing.
I wrote it, but it was like it's complicated and it's also like at the very edge of my cognitive abilities to try to get this right and to
Yeah,
like you're writing macros and you're dealing with exceptions and you're dealing with two databases and if this one blows up then or if that one blows up what how do you roll back and it is actually quite complicated and then it's even perhaps more complicated to write tests to prove that it actually does what you think it does. So I had
yeah,
it there at
yeah.
least.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problems are like if you excuse me, if you let's say for whatever reason like Mongo is up but Postgres is down,
Yeah.
um, do you stop everything because of that?
Well, yes. Like
Probably not.
if well,
If
no, not
Mongo is
really,
your production
but
system, you probably don't want that.
yeah, but I guess we had such faith in Postgres and it being up that that was not a that was not a huge problem. And
You have a
you
cluster
would
and you think you've got all the kind of failover, high availability sort of things in Postgres that
yes,
you want to
and
do.
like as a request comes in, we would ask for like you ask for a connection to Postgres and you would ask for a connection to Mongo.
Right,
Right, that would be the first step of this whole migration thing is just we can handle a request and we can get connections to both databases.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, that I think as a general problem, it's quite hard.
Yeah.
But I think it will be quite interesting, and I'm definitely up for a macro challenge, um, to write a little way that we can make sure that both of these succeed. So
Hmm.
I don't think we need to worry about rolling back, but I do think we need to make sure that it works. Um, so I and like the thing about these two things is they're both, I think, essentially they're both idempotent, because there's nothing. The only thing that's a bit weird about this function, yeah, is that it has this next ID in it. And I think we
Hmm.
spoke about this last week. That there's a few things here that are a bit odd, that we want to that we'll refactor eventually, because we don't want IDs to be part of this. I think this function should get an ID, um,
Mm.
and then it can like essentially do its work. You know. But anyway, even leaving that to one side, if we just made this like this these two steps, IO copy and transact, if we made that into a function, then that would essentially, make it smaller. But you'd need
Yep.
something to say, okay, like let's this do. We need some sort of like make sure we do to completion,
Mm.
kind of macro, and with that like do to completion macro, you need to essentially you need to make. I think what these other, I mean, we talked about this before, is like, oh, there's a closure in Slack thing about this that I maybe we'll link to, um, in the content made simple Slack uh, channel that I started the other day on the back of this, and said, what's the kind of state of the art as far as two-phase commit is concerned, because that's what this is. It's a two-phase commit problem.
Mm.
Um, and people are talking about something generically now called durable execution, and things like temporal I/O and restate are examples of services that provide these capabilities. And what they do essentially is they allow you to wrap these things in a sort of mini workflow, and that workflow is essentially taken off your hands and executed and executed and executed until it's finished.
Mm.
Um, and they essentially guarantee that it will finish. And there's a few fancier things they can do, but that's the nub of it,
Yeah.
And I think we can probably make something ad hoc, which is a bit cheaper and a bit simpler than that, because we don't need all of their fancy bells and whistles. But we do need to be convinced. At least I need to be convinced that those two things will work.
Yep.
Either they'll all work, or we'll stop.
Mm. Because I guess
So
mm.
that's for a little bit of a background exercise, 'cause I don't think it's going to be much fun to write this macro online here. I
Yep.
think there's going to be a lot of debugging and a lot of farting around, and it might never work. So I don't want to take us off the path too much. But I'm interested in doing it, and assuming that I can get my act together and write it, and maybe I'll share the repository or something with the gang on Slack, um, and we can get some feedback on it from other people, as well as yourself, obviously, Eric, and then we can see whether we want to bring it in,
Yep.
but that's a bit of a side quest, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's very nice with even with something like, we haven't gone very far, but we already see that this is an absolutely a really interesting problem to deal with. And I think there are some. I mean, maybe people would say in Clojure, why don't you just use a ref or something like that? Because refs have like essentially software transactional memory.
Yep.
Um, and that's a slightly different thing, because software transactional memory is about saying that something in your state will change, but these are side affecting things. So that's something else, I think.
Yep.
But the refs could be an interesting approach. I've never used one
Yep.
myself, so apart from an atom.
No, I don't think I've used neither refs
I mean the
nor
agent.
agents.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that could be like an interesting way of approaching it, at least.
yeah,
There can be various like implementations of how to wrap these things up.
yeah. Because I mean, for me, and I should probably not say this, but it feels a little bit like a theoretical exercise. Like, what are the odds in this day and age that like first thing is like what's the consequences of the power going out here in line 50 and a half?
Um, See, the thing is, I mean, you can argue about this about it's just a bit of wasted, it's just a few wasted blocks on disk, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like I feel like that's a bit of a it's a bit of a cop out in terms of
yeah,
like you see a problem and you just try and find out ways of like diminishing it. Which I mean, I get it. I mean, on a practical level, we're just going to keep going with the way it is, you know. Um, but I think it's still good to acknowledge the problem
yeah,
and to have a principled solution to it. Even
yeah,
if even if we're prepared to live with some of the bad stuff right now, it would be very nice to have a way to reassure ourselves that actually, it doesn't matter what happens. We will succeed in these two things, or we won't.
yeah. There's definitely some stuff here that so one of the things that when I look at this piece of code, the thing that worries me the most is that um, it's going to be somewhat hard to write a test for it.
Right, right.
There's a couple of things. I think there's um, like we have to provide it with like we need to have a request with that can be parsed by multi-part params. Is like I'm sure that Ring has some stuff to do that for us.
Mm.
But we probably don't want to write to the file system while we're running tests. So we need to like either I talked about this offline last time, like create a mock for the like make this write to a file, put that behind a protocol, and then write a mocky thing for that. But let's not do that. But at least we have to redefine what IO copy means. So it's quite a bit of stuff to deal with here in the tests.
Yeah. I mean, I would kind of be tempted to write to the file system as part of the tests rather than avoid that
Yeah,
because I think like Unix for a long time has had the ability to like produce temporary files and then essentially clean them up when the machine
sure.
restarts.
But
But also we
then,
have like with open in terms of like and we can do try finalies to clean up the files. So it's not that hard to do it. And I prefer to call the real functions that do real things
yeah, I
than
agree.
to do mocks.
But then we have to move like then this can't really be part of the function.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these things they're not in the right place. There's too much combined together. This
Yep.
this is doing way too many things. This
Yes,
function.
and
I
you
think
sort of
that's
it
yeah,
when you start thinking about writing tests for it, that
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
shows up, right?
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's way, way, way too much stuff going on. Because, for
Yep.
instance, like this section of the do, for instance, probably should be the actual function. Um, and once that function is, you might have some other functions to get the bits and pieces off the HTTP request, and then you might have a function, or this top part of the function and the bottom part should be separated, at least that
Hmm.
much, and then maybe even more, even a little bit more, like you say.
Yeah.
and then it becomes more like it's more testable, it's more tractable.
Yeah. But also, I guess what ideally for um um I would ideally like to test this function.
Right. Yes.
That's like I don't care so much how we handle like whichever function does show the upload form
Hmm.
is not so interesting to me. The interesting bit for me is like more of the integration tests that, if I provide you with a request that has upload form as its URI, I
Hmm.
get back some HTML that looks like what I expect.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. And but like you say, there are some aspects of this thing where uploading content, and we will call upload content.
Yeah. And you
Um,
can then you can also sort of test this from a system point of view where you say, okay, if I do upload content, um, I should be able to call video
yeah, with the
with some
content I just
ID, and I should
uploaded.
get
Yeah,
something
yeah,
back, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think there's sort of like again and again maybe there is a sort of separation that can occur here between like what this router is doing and its side effects.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so we've definitely got to dos here. We've got review the handlers and then basic testing. So
Yeah.
I think we've had a look at that handler, the handle upload. Um, did we want to look at some others before we do the basic test, or
No, I would actually
have you had
like to
enough?
start
Yeah.
going and just writing, seeing getting a feel for what writing test in this system looks like.
Okay. Okay. Let's do it.
Um, yeah. So I guess we should go to test and main test.
Main test. What is that?
Does that sound reasonable, or is it? I don't remember how we do this anymore. Well, it's main test.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I I prefer this. I think.
Yeah. You'll get a condor warning for that one.
Okay. Turn that off.
Yeah. Def test
Is
is
our testing.
testing. Yeah.
And um, what is it?
I think your bracket, your square
Yeah.
braces, you need to go and pull it in one.
Yep. Ah, crap. Did I do this wrong? I did. Yes, I did it wrong. Let's just kill this one. Um, because,
We don't have a source. We just have things. We can
yeah,
just call
so
it
I
main
wanted to
test. It's
have
in the
like
same in the same thing.
test CMS 0 main test was what I was looking for,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
it matches.
Yeah.
There we go. And then we get we get this good old SUT as well. Structure under test, right?
Sure. Yeah. tightening the bot down. I like it.
Hey?
Turning the bot down is a good
Yeah.
idea. I like it.
Yeah. So this works. We can run
Good.
a test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I guess what I'm curious about now is equal the empty string suit handler star um, like that. So I guess what I'm saying is that our handler star takes a request as a parameter,
Yeah.
right? And um, if our URI doesn't match anything, then it should render our homepage.
Yes. So you should definitely get more than string, empty
Yeah, but
string.
I don't know what we're getting right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
like this idea. I always like to do is equal one or something, or is equal
yeah,
blank. Yeah.
um,
Then the test will tell you what you're
yeah,
getting back. Oh, okay.
this is interesting. This is and why is this?
I'm guessing because we're trying to access something from the resource, from the request.
N- Yes, and we are in fact trying to access DB, which should be an atom of content, which is empty. We're just writing this out now.
Yeah, sure, sure.
And that was sort of more interesting. So we get a null pointer here. Um, that is fairly interesting. Ah, right,
Can't
because
be
we're
that, can
asking,
it?
this is interesting. This is because it was off with the lines here, but we start out by
String
asking
starts with
for
URI. Yeah,
if our
yeah,
URI starts with something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you need a URI.
Yep. Uh, there.
But it's interesting that if we don't, I guess it's not possible to have a non. The ring will make sure that we have a URI
I
basically.
believe
Yeah,
that Ring will do that for us.
yeah, yeah.
And Ring actually comes with a mock request. There's a mock library
Mm, mm.
to make it easier to make Ring requests, but sometimes it's easier just to do it like this, at least at the level we're at right now, I think.
Mm.
Ah, this is good, right? Because now at least it doesn't blow up, but it still fails.
Yeah, and you get this
And
actual thing with status 200.
yep,
Yeah,
so uh, let's just write it out. Yeah. So
can't you copy and
here's,
paste with this thing, or
hey,
can't you copy paste with this thing?
I can. But I'm kind of here I get a little bit here's where let's just do this. Right now it's green. So at least this is somewhat working, right?
It's the base case, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's okay as
Um
the base case.
yeah, so um, so now we have this one.
Hmm.
Um But what's kind of unsatisfying to me is this, like, as this grows, right?
Oh yeah,
This
yeah. It's
feels,
horrible that you're gonna have to have to test each of the aspects of the. You as soon as you put one video in there, it's gonna explode. Yeah.
yes. Um, so I guess, yeah. So here I'm a little bit open to ideas.
Right. Okay. So I think we were talking about at one point where we it would be quite nice to be able to test at the hiccup level rather than the HTML level.
Yeah. Because one way to do that, there's separate ways to do this. So we could take a sneak. So if we go to main, right, and
Yeah.
basically where we're ending up here um,
It's the UI
is
page, isn't it? That's the thing.
yeah, it's the UI page with the home with the content of the database.
I think that's okay, but I think it's the home that, like the home. I think if I'm not wrong, home gives back hiccup.
Yeah, home gives back hiccup, and page gives back hiccup.
Yeah, so it's render that's the problem. So one of the things that we might do is move render outside of here.
Yep. Or yeah. Because the other way that you could do this, and I'm not saying that we should do that, but
Hmm.
um, you could say that this would be render of UI page, UI home, and then we know that this is an empty list for just for now.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that, and this would be SUT, and now it's also green, right?
Okay.
But so this kind of begs that it
You're
feels
rewriting the
really,
code. You're rewriting the code in
yep,
the test, which doesn't
yep,
seem very efficient.
no. And the question then, like, there's ways to do this, right? One way that I played with on another project was to say that you could specify the content type that you want to have returned,
Hmm.
so that render would honor the content type, and you could say, hey, I want, you know, data Eden or whatever back, and then you could just return the hiccup that you got.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, this
Seems
is
very fancy. Yeah.
it's a little bit fancy. But I
I
don't
think the other
have a
thing
really
about that
good.
to me is that if you specify the content type, you're putting a branch into the code
Yep,
that doesn't exist in the real code. So
yep,
you're not testing the real code.
yep.
You're testing your branch in the code. And I'm not a big fan of that. I think ideally I would say take render out of there, put render in the function that calls it, and then you can call this function and get back data. And then we can choose whether we can be asked to sort of type out that data or
Yeah,
generate it some other way.
the problem here is that we're not rendering on all of these.
I'll bet we are. I
No,
bet arrow content renders.
no, it doesn't. Because that's the thing that streams the video.
Ah, okay. Okay. Well, I think in fairness, that's the odd case, isn't it?
Yeah, it is for now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you can do a little bit of jiggery pokery here, and hmm. See, the thing to me is that I'm not sure that that's going to stay the way it is.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? I think it's going to end up getting rendered with with something like episode one, at the top or something. It's going to end up being
yep,
a page.
yep,
I feel like to some extent, what this is showing us is that this function is doing the wrong thing. You know, or
yep,
at least it's doing something wrong. Is maybe it's the wrong word, but it's doing something off. It's doing something odd. It's not uniform, and is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And I feel like it's going to end up being kind of a bad thing because probably just having a page with a video is not what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up
yep,
with, you know, excuse me, we're going to end up with a page where we want to have back buttons and we want to have like links and other bits and pieces, isn't it?
mm.
So
Because I'm just curious. I'm gonna throw out some ideas here. Because you could do something like this, and then you have this one, and then this becomes the body here is
yeah, you don't need the
oops.
URI even then.
Hey,
You don't need the URI and you're calling the wrong function, I suppose. That's the problem. You
um,
should be calling SUT render home.
yeah, but I'm calling it there because so like I'm calling my handler and I expect that to be the same as rendering or calling render home. So the only thing I'm really testing now is the handler, which is a bit um
Oh, I see.
or
Okay. Right, right, right.
yeah, but I did something wrong here. Um
Because the render home, the handler doesn't give back the status 200, I suppose.
mm, actual ah, right. There you go. But this becomes a little bit meh because now we're just testing the cond in for this case we're just
Yeah,
testing the
yeah,
cond
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a really a decent test.
yeah I don't know if this gives much
No,
yet.
I wouldn't buy it. Yeah.
No. So how do we want to do it?
Um, like I say, I'm tempted to take render out of that function.
Tempted to take render out of it?
Yeah, out of the handler star.
Yeah.
Lift it into a higher function. Um, Even though I take your point that we need to refactor this content here
Yep.
on line 114, but sometimes testing things like this tells you that your kind of like your design is off.
Yep.
Because it won't take much to render that page.
No, but this one needs to be like this is the thing that actually streams the video back to the client.
Well, isn't
Uh,
it just like I don't know about that.
no, because we have the UI video, right? Um, and that's the thing that shows the video page where the video is on, and that needs to have a video with like a link to the actual downloadable file. And that's like you see it here that um, this page here goes to content of ID, and then content is just the streaming of the thing. So we have a page around the video, but we still need a link so that we can access the video.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I kind of excuse me. I think that I think having stuff that is like directly accessible via this ID is itself maybe a bit sort of different from the rest of the router. You know,
Hmm.
in other words, we've got two routers here. You know, we've got like some sort of content accessor and some sort of like UI accessor.
Yep.
And maybe that's what we're telling. That's what we're really being told by looking at this is that we need to split that function in two, so that
Yeah, or we could have um let's just say that we had this render function here, right?
yeah.
And let's say that it took a as a first parameter.
Hmm.
And for now, if um, you do that, otherwise you say um, to content of H, and then H is
C.
data,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because then you could then you're sort of
Yeah, that's a nice way around it. I think. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll buy that. Yeah.
but um, I would even go as far as here we go. This is so if that one is this, sorry, I'm being something now.
I'd do it the other
Um,
way around, by the way. I'd say data first, and then content type second. And then you can use it as a sort of you can put an ampersand there and have it as an optional key.
yeah, but I was wondering if I wanted to do like this, because then I can send data there and or whichever way we decide to do it, because if you then look at here, you would say render, and then how do we say it? Like,
Yeah, but you don't want to do that here.
No, because
That's
the reason
ugly.
why the reason why I'm going this way is that that allows you to do like this, like whatever video, right? Because then we can look at where handler star is called and we could say render.
Okay. Yeah.
And then all of these they return now this and like that.
Hmm. Again, it
Or
sort of
you could,
strikes me as a little boilerplate for essentially. I mean, I like the idea of pulling render out, but also if you have render, like my general approach to render would be to have like ampersand keys content type or content type text HTML. That would be my
yeah.
approach.
So you said and
So data first,
data.
then
Yeah.
and keys content type, and then you say
Yep.
or content type text HTML.
Ooh, you're I get it. And then that's like is that with like this
Yeah. Well,
or
content
less?
type the second time around is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing about that is that it means that you have to have something special. You have to put something special on the video one, but that's just the only one. Yeah.
Yep. That's nice. We're getting somewhere. So that means that we have, but the point is you want to have render on the outside. Is that's what I'm getting at. So you want to return one thing
Yeah. Okay.
from here,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So this would be data and um
Yeah. Content type video. Yeah. And the other one would just be data. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. That's looking nicer. Yeah.
It's interesting how hard it is to write data.
Yeah. It's sort of a funny key combination, isn't it? Yeah. Does response direct after post come back with a content
Because
type?
they're not rendered. Oh, so here we need to have like a this is
It's a
then
third situation, isn't it? It's like
yeah, it is.
redirect. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is basically data is nothing, and then it's something like this then, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the redirect is, ooh, this is going to be a bunch of changes that I don't like to do right now, but right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're into
So
cond now.
we're into cond.
We're back to cond.
We're,
Everything comes back to cond.
yeah. So if and then we have
Yeah.
Let's start with that. If redirect, basically.
Mm.
Then, didn't I? Ah, do you remember what we had there?
It was a long, long thing, like something like redirect after post or some shit
Yep,
from response redirect after post, yeah,
yep,
and then it was the redirect, yeah.
yep. And then that, and otherwise, something like this, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then,
We've got a test here, so it's all good. Yes.
yeah, what does this say now? This one is now totally, well, we don't have,
Yeah, we're all gone. It's all gone again. Yeah.
what does this say? Yep. And
This is
this
nice, yeah.
actually,
It's starting to be
uh,
decent, isn't it? Yeah.
yes.
Because one can imagine that in the tests we'd have a def for like 200 and
Yeah, yeah.
text HTML.
But there was more here. Ah, crap. Good thing we have,
Committed these things.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, what did we have? We had UI home. No, we had UI page. UI home. Yeah. And then this is much nicer,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So we can
And
just
then we could,
basically, yeah, go on.
I would even go as far as to say, um, but it's being rendered. Oh, crap. So now it's rendered as a string. So, um, you have the body, and then I guess, is it, do you remember the namespace here?
I think it's
Yeah.
closure.eden. Yeah. I think you have to say it as Eden now if you're going to use it like that.
Let me just try. And then we can take data off of that. And that should be, we did that.
You can probably get rid of the require on line 5.
Yeah. And we're not using UI anymore either. And
This is
this
good.
looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is starting to look nice.
Yeah.
Does it work though?
It did.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see what happens for the other parts of the cond. Yeah.
So now we have one function or one test, like it's green down there.
Yeah, it's green. It's lighting up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see if we can write a couple more tests in the next 10 minutes and then
Yeah,
we
I
can
want
count
to
this as
see
done.
testing
Homepage, I
homepage
suppose. Yeah.
with empty database.
Yeah.
let's see with some content.
Mm.
Ooh.
I'm guessing the problem is that it's we're probably missing some bit of that database.
Because it doesn't know how to read this stuff, right?
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So, because Hiccup makes the quotes to, so that's how far we got with that approach.
Yeah. So just a quick question then. So with handler star, it's giving us back somehow we're getting back strings. So can we somehow try and get back data?
Yeah, let's have a look at this. Is a very good point, I think. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
that's why.
Fine.
Thank you,
The dangling
sir.
render.
Yeah. So then we don't need
Yeah,
this either.
that would be real bad. Yeah.
What did we get here?
We haven't got data
Um,
anymore, have we? On the bottom one.
yeah, but none of them are passing now, which is annoying. So there is right. Hold on. So we're getting back. We're expecting HTML.
And we're getting back data.
There we go. I was just writing. Didn't I
Ah, I
hadn't
didn't save it
evaluated
or
it.
something. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um.
So we don't need the body anymore. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yep. And this is also good, right?
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, we could think of ways of making that nicer, but yeah, it's all good. I think I need a tick in front of the UL or make it a vector or something.
Yeah, we don't have to do it up there. Oh, there's something. Maybe you're right.
It's because it's enclosing something. Yeah.
What's wrong here? It doesn't want to evaluate, and
Where is this wrong?
is it just too many of these? Hang on. I'd like to say that you never mess up with parentheses in closure because you like you always use power edit, but apparently it happens.
Copy and paste is always the problem, isn't it?
It is.
Hmm. Wrong number
I'm
of
getting
elements
tired.
passed to the vector.
Yeah.
Make it a vector rather than a list, and it will pass, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Yep. Good.
It's
So now we have
just
some
the way the reader
confidence.
works, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey?
It's just the way the reader works.
Yep.
Nice.
So now we actually have some confidence that we can render. Let's just see if let me just evaluate some stuff here as well, because now we put the render here, and that didn't quite work.
Not 100%, no.
No.
I think it's because we've got data. It should be render data?
No.
Oh no, what's render? What's render getting passed?
Okay, so let's you know what we could do the last couple of minutes?
No, but render is getting past data, but that's in a map, so it's not right, is it?
Yeah, it's like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Should be data there, yeah. There we go. Yeah. Boom.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, last couple of minutes, Eric.
Yeah. I think I'll just call in sick for the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting you. I feel you. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're there enough. Yeah.
But I think we got at least like
I think we're starting to
this
get a
isn't
decent
too bad.
approach. Yeah, we're getting a
Yeah.
decent approach now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
And
can write down the
then
data we expect, and obviously we could somehow like make some of this stuff a little bit more like condensed and like some boilerplate removals, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
yeah. But I think also it's like one thing that I like is that we're now passing in a database that suits us.
Yes. Yes. And
That's um that's nice. And we can test it now with um one piece that we're missing now.
only one piece.
Now there's like there's a lot of stuff that we're
Yeah. Yeah.
missing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
one thing that I would like to actually test is there's some interesting stuff going on here in the handler.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Is this what you're going to do before we fuck off into the night?
I was thinking that would be a thing that we could do before we fuck off into the night.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
So what I want, ooh, that's ugly. That's hard, suddenly.
Yeah, well, remember we were saying that we wanted to pass in the date and not. What might be nice to have, actually, Eric, is
Yeah,
hear me out on this one. Is
yeah,
that the handler should have a date function being passed in, because then we can make our own date function, and this thing will call that date function, and we can make sure we get back what we want.
yeah. But I guess what I wanted to test
Oh yeah, okay.
right now was I wanted to test that render is called correctly on the stuff that comes from handler star,
Okay, yeah.
right? Because what we saw now was that even though this test here passed,
Yeah.
we got bogus output
On the page, yeah.
uh, on our web page.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sort of avoid that. So um,
So you want, in this case, you do want to have some like like basic HTML to make sure that the thing
Yes.
is coming out. Yeah.
Ah, okay, so this one says blah, blah, blah. Yep, this is exactly what I wanted. I'm so happy that just worked.
Okay. Well, we can get more complicated next time.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, this is the only like we're just testing that we actually get the render function going correctly here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think again, I would call
Um,
this like the test handler base case as well, because just as we're going to add more things, this is the ultimate like
yeah.
yeah,
But the thing which is nice is that once this one is sort of working, we don't have to redefine the database in the other tests, and we don't have to deal with HTML in these other tests.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But this one sort of proves that it's glued together nicely.
Right. Yes, that is
Because
true. Yeah, yeah,
if we now mess up, if we now go and say, um, like we had this as
yeah,
like this, right?
yeah.
Now we should get a failing test here. Um, yeah, there was something else I did. Well, I don't remember. We did what we did like this, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we get that we're expecting this, but we're getting hiccup back because I introduced this error that we had previously, the one that made this one look like hiccup.
I can't see where the error is on your.
Well, it says this one's green, or sorry, it's red down here.
Yeah, yeah, it fails, but how does it fail?
Ah,
Can we see?
yep, there you go.
All right, okay. So that yeah,
Yeah,
we'll be able to work that out pretty easily, won't we? If we see that test for them, we see okay, we've got our
yes,
we're not as you say, it's not all hooked up together properly. Yeah,
yep.
great. Well, yeah, you're right. That is it's a really nice test.
So now we
I like
can,
the approach. We'll make sure that we're
and now what?
I think nothing is saved properly or
That's
reevaluated or
another
something.
one because the old test is still failing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason. Because I tested the namespace. But if we go here and that one's green and this one's green. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully, when we refresh the page over there, it's going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's very good. I like it, Eric. Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's interesting, right? It's like getting to these tests and making them sort of ergonomic led us to some other refactorings again, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think it's starting to feel like it's coming together a bit more in terms
Yep.
of consistency, and that's so that I think that's nice that the test led us there. Yeah. All right. Well, I think
It's
that's
it's almost like it's test driven or almost like test driven development, but not quite.
well, test flavored development maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's okay. Test flavored is all right.
yeah. Good.
All right. We'll close it up.
Okay. See you later.
See you later.